Hey, good evening, you guys. I thought it would be fun to try a different background. I don't always do backgrounds, but I thought this would be fun because we talked about this in the podcast this week with the Business Roundtable about knowing ourselves to lead ourselves. And one of the tools we use in Giant is this infinity loop that you're seeing behind me. So hopefully that comes through while I'm sharing with you guys tonight. But nonetheless, I thought it would be cool to come on tonight. Number one, just do a weekly return report. It's Sunday night. It's an exercise that I do anyways as part of my Giant tools, looking at what worked, what didn't work, where I made progress on things. And so I always appreciate getting to come on here and share with you guys what I'm applying, what I'm learning, right? What's working, not working, and share some insights that I came up this week. So, number one, if you guys are going to listen into the Business Roundtable podcast, I invite you to do so. That's going to be coming out this Wednesday. Look up Business Roundtable podcast. That'd be great. We talk about this concept, know yourself to lead yourself, which is kind of cool. So that's why I use the infinity. Anyways, the question that though I came up with me this week with a gentleman, Timothy. By the way, Timothy, great conversation this week. Is that we were talking about why don't we go and do certain things? Like why don't we go to the unknown? And it's always different reasons, but we should say, what is that unknown? We go from where we're at, what we know. And so I'm going to link these things together for you guys that are watching me tonight, checking this out. Is there are tendencies, there's behaviors, there's patterns. We all have them. No, nobody's that doesn't have them. Who doesn't have a tendency, right? I have lots of them. Um, and I'm going to tie this together because what happens is if we have ways of knowing or being, we have a tendency to go back to those things, and they provide us certain patterns of behaviors that may serve us or may not get us what we actually want. And so this conversation that I had this week was, what is the pattern or behavior that I'm having that's preventing me from getting what I want? So you can kind of reverse engineer this, if you will, but going back and looking at what is your mindset, what's the challenge here? So it could be as simple of you know in in a business, it's like figuring out like how much how much do I charge, right? This is a big question oftentimes, like how much do I charge? Well, there's lots of different things that go into that. But sometimes what we have is a barrier, even though we can justify the cost, we know that this is what's our cost for creating something, and then we say, well, I can't charge that much. I've never charged that much. Or however you guys have ever bought something, maybe that you've never spent that much money on something before. Oftentimes, there's a safety mechanism or a way in our brains, the way we work, where we're like, we don't want to go to the unknown because it's a triggering place. It's not bad, but it's triggering in that we want to stay in the known and what's comfortable, what we understand about ourselves. And so this conversation that I had this week was, okay, well, why I'm being resistant to going in this direction that I feel I called to do. I feel like I need to go there. And this is really common in business owners, I find. If anyone was a DJ, uh, raising my prices as I provide value and benefit, right? Because I want to be liked, I want to be appreciated. And then so I know this, I know I can charge this much and no problem. I'm very confident in that. But then to go to the next level, or how many of you have, rented for a while, right? And then you're gonna like buy a house and you're like, man, that is more money than I ever have done before. It's uncomfortable, it's unknown because you're not sure how this is all gonna work out, right? And so our minds have this tendencies or behaviors that want to protect us, that want to limit risk and exposure to the unknown because we don't know, we've never been there, we don't know how that's gonna be. And so there's a resistance. And I just want to bring this up because what happens is when we have a resistance, we will go into self-preservation mode most of the time because again, even if it's in a bad situation or a worse situation, because we know that situation, we know the lay of the land, if you will, right? But we don't know what that looks like outside of that. That's why I find that there aren't as many entrepreneurs out there, because entrepreneurialism, if you're going to go in that direction, it requires a lot of unknowns. It requires a lot of a step of faith, a trusting in the process, if you will, meaning if you don't know the end, you don't know exactly how to get there, but you have a vision, you have something that you see that could be, and entrepreneurs are willing to step into the unknown, in order to get the benefit of that greater vision, that greater dream. How many of you guys have had dreams, visions, aspirations, and then you downplayed them? You minimize them. You said, it's not that big of a deal. I don't really want it, because that's our self-preservation kicking in and limiting us. It's putting a limit on us, and that, to me, I've done that for years. I did it. My wife would say to me, "Oh, wouldn't we be great to have this car or this house?" And I'm like, "No, no, we can't do that. We can't have that," because it felt foreign to me. It wasn't something I had really envisioned. I hadn't put myself in that place, and so it was safer for me to minimize it and put down, rather than lean into it and say, "You know what could that be? What is the possibility there?" And once we start to envision the possibility of what would it look like for me to be in that place? What would it be like for me to experience that? What would the people be like around me? What would the environment that I would be finding myself in? And once we start to envision and embrace that, it's more likely to become a reality. But in the meantime, there's a what's the word I want to say? Uh, there's a your things are incongruent. There's a disconnection, because you're saying, here's who I am today, who I know who I am in this place, but I don't know exactly what that person looks like further down the road. And that's okay, because you're not there yet. However, I will encourage you, and I appreciate you guys listening in and following me along here, is that even though you don't know exactly how to get there, how it's all going to work out, you're not going to get there at all unless you start to lean into it. And will it go in a direct path where you're like, "Woof, no, not likely." It's not going to just jump up in there. And again, for those of you just tuning in or watching in there, the reason I have this infinity loop that you're seeing behind me is just it's a tool that we use in Giant, kind of to know ourselves, to lead ourselves in understanding our behaviors and our tendencies. And as we go around this loop, there's actions that come from this, and ultimately we get results, or I guess actions that lead to consequences, right? There's things that happen based on our actions, and then we get results. So what I'm trying to get at tonight, and just encouraging you guys as I do my return and report, and just share with you kind of some insights that I got, was in talking with Timothy. By the way, thanks Timothy for the encouragement and sharing. Is there was this idea of who do we want to become? What do we want to have? Whatever that is for you guys. And if you guys are listening in, drop in. I'd love to hear. I always like to hear what people are dreaming, envisioning. I think it's important to declare what that is for you. For me, it's been this year has been growing Steward Your Business, helping me reach more people. That's why I started doing the podcast this year, and opening up the training program that I have, not just for business owners, but for individuals. I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like, candidly, but I've been building it and leaning into it, and creating a space and really a vision, a dream for what that could be. And I could either lean into that, even though it's completely unknown, because I haven't completely created it. It's not like I have this thousands of followers and all these different people. I don't have that, and but I can envision what it could be look like to have that community, have that space. That's why I come to you guys and I share, and being transparent and letting you know the process that I go through, because I think it's important as we go through the journey of life. Recognizing where we're at of known, and where do we want to go to the unknown. And that's you know okay. I encourage you, everybody goes through this at some point, where they're in their known to unknown. And if you're struggling in that area, and I have, and I still do at times, but I've found ways to kind of get around my fixed mindset, my brain that's trying to protect me. It's actually done. It's a good thing. It tries to help look at risk and minimize that. But on the same token, while that does protect us in some circumstances, it actually hinders us in others. And so, part of the what I do with like the Steward Your Business and the Steward Yourself program is to open up our mindset, kind of to reprogram ourselves to envision what can be, right? How we can move from the known to the unknown and really get what we want. Really go to the results that really are meaningful to us versus staying in this kind of cul-de-sac, if you will, not getting there. So encouraging you tonight, if you don't currently check your tendencies or behaviors, again, we all have them, knowing them, you can recognize these things and say, okay, what is that self-limiting belief? What is that way of being or showing up that's not getting what you want, right? And so there's ways that we can break through that. And if that's something you're interested in, just message me. I'm happy to share more information. I'm not going to go super long here. I just want to give you guys some thoughts here about what I was going through this week, as I had that conversation and recognizing, man, I've hit that wall where I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I don't know where to go next. And getting out from the known to the unknown has been all made all the difference. And going in that journey, and I think everybody feels like that call sometimes at some point saying, "Hey, go from the known to the unknown." And I posted on my Facebook wall earlier today about the movie Field of Dreams, which is a great movie, and it completely embraces this idea of the known, the unknown. You have, you know, this whole movie based on known being a farmer, making your corn crop, and this unknown of creating this whole baseball field and all of the things that come with it. And it's very magical. And I think it's a beautiful story and embraces this idea of moving from the known to the unknown, moving to that and adding to the beauty, if you will, of your life and experience, and not just holding back. None of us are designed, I believe, to hold back in that. This is a beautiful call into our lives to move from the known to the unknown. And I'm not going to tell you it's not scary or challenging. Man, and I watched that movie last night and I was with my family and I was just like, watching the scene after scene. For those of you have, hopefully you guys have seen this movie because it's been around for a long time. But Kevin Costner, keeps getting these voices. Build it, he will come. Ease his pain, go the distance. There's these things that keep coming up. He's like, I don't know what that means. I just need to know I need to go. Right? How many of us hear the calling in our hearts, hear the calling, and or we kind of it's fuzzy, but we minimize it and we're like, I can't go there. I don't know. That doesn't make logical sense, you know. But if you haven't seen the movie A Field of Dreams, I highly recommend it. Even if you're not a baseball fan, you don't even know anything about baseball, you don't have to watch that movie and know anything about baseball. But the fact is, here's a story of a man that went from the known of his family and where he was at, and he moved to the unknown, which was a beautiful thing and was much richer than it could have ever imagined if he stayed in the known. And that's my heart, honestly. If you guys are still hanging on here with me, is that I want to help others move from that place of stuck and unknown, because we have a great God that loves us. And I fully believe this, that we have a God that loves us, that chooses us, that wants us to have an amazing life, and that is goes to infinity and beyond. Yeah, let's have the infinities and seriously wants to have that with you. Um, and it's okay to step from the known to the unknown, because really it seems unknown. We don't know all the steps. And I think, thank God we don't, because I think if we knew, we wouldn't go. But in a good sense, God has a design for us. And I was just talking to a friend tonight who's in a place where he didn't envision he was going to be. However, he's sharing the gospel with others, he's helping them, and he's reaching the men that he would never other reached. Now, it wasn't his anticipation to go in this direction and where he's at in life. However, he went into this unknown situation and God's using it. And I believe that can be happen for every single one of you as you're listening. And I feel like God's put on my heart to reach anybody that listens, takes this in, is that they know they have somebody that's lived this, that pursues it, and knows it that as flawed and messed up as I am and broken, and God's been working through me to renew me, to transform me, to take me to the unknown, because I know that there's people that need to hear that. They need to hear God's love. They need to hear that they are an amazing person, that God has chosen them, and that this life is a great opportunity to build relationship with one another and with God. And together in this world, we lift up, love one another, care for one another, and we can move from what we know to the unknown, and whatever that relationship is, whatever that connection is for you. And if you're looking and you're feeling like you're stuck in that, I would really encourage you to just reach out to me. That is what I'm passionate about. That's why I started my own company. That's why I come on live with you guys to share what I'm learning, what I'm going through, and how I'm applying it to my life. So that's all I got for you tonight here on a Sunday night. Um, you know, as you learn and understand this and embrace this about yourself, know that you have an advocate here in me. Reach out to me. I'm happy to talk with you. Would love to connect. And I want to wish you guys an amazing, amazing Sunday night, an amazing week. Got a lot to celebrate this week. And so we'll have my son's birthday this week, and just a lot to share. So I'll be coming back to you guys and sharing more along the journey. But I just wanted to encourage you here as this conversation came up. God bless you. Have a great night, guys. I'll talk to you soon.